Good morning. So I have decided to kind of record my thoughts. Um, my students had told me in the past that I should do some recordings of my thoughts or inspiration before I just kind of brushed it off and was like, we'll see. But lately, I've been feeling moved to share some of the things that have been on my mind and some of the revelations that I've had. And if not for someone else, just a journaling for myself. I do try to operate under the just one principle, meaning that if something that I've experienced or something that I say or do could affect or help just one, then it's not in vain. And sometimes that just one is just me, and I'm okay with that. So I'm going to start recording what I'm going to call Tawana Talks. And again, maybe it's for you or someone else, or maybe it's just for me. Um, so just in reflecting on just my life and thinking about why and how I operate the way that I do, I started just thinking of little small things. Like there's some things that you believe, some things that you say, some things that you do, the way that you move, the way that you talk, that comes from or may come from something that you've learned or experienced in your past, or something that was just passed down to you from generation to generation that maybe you have no idea why you do it. You may think that that's just the way it's supposed to be done, or that's just the way it's always been done, and not really knowing where the origin of that has come from. Um, and so it's just something that just is, until you kind of just sit back and reflect or maybe investigate. And you might have to peel back layers after layers of investigation, or sometimes you just have to peel back one layer and just sit back and think. It may take a conversation with someone for you to get a full understanding. Now, this is not to say that the way that you're doing things or done things is wrong. It's just sometimes it gets a bigger highlight in who you are as a person and where you may be going, and maybe making changes for the better, or maybe continuing because of an understanding. So let me share a little story that helped me to just come to this revelation. When I was younger, my dad would be the one to make my breakfast when my dad and my mom were together, and my dad lived with us, or we all lived together. He was the one to make my breakfast in the morning, and he um, was the one to take me to school. And so in the morning, I distinctly remember him making me grits. Now, if you're from the South, you're probably like, what is this city girl from New York, Buffalo, New York, know about grits? And every time I tell someone I used to eat grits, they're like, you're from the North. You don't know about grits. Well, I do. And my dad made me grits every morning. It feels like it may not have been every morning, but it feels like to me it was every morning. And I have grown up eating my grits, opposite of what the consensus says when you do your polls and say, do you eat grits with sugar or do you eat grits with salt? I eat it with sugar and syrup. So take that. Um, and I'm just like, that's the way to eat grits. That's grits are supposed to be sweet. Until I then experience as an adult shrimp and grits, but that's another story for another day. And so I'm like, sugar and syrup. Well, my dad used to put sugar and syrup in my grits. So I've acquired a taste of sweet grits because that's how he made it. And that's what I ate, what I remember to be every morning. And that's how I like my grits. And that's how they're supposed to be made because that's what I was exposed to and that's what I was used to. Now, I've grown up even as an adult. When I have grits, if they don't contain shrimp, then they're not a lunch or a dinner meal or a brunch meal. If they're by themselves and they're breakfast, then they have sugar and they have syrup. Now, when I became an adult and had a conversation with my dad, he shared with me that he knew that I did not like eggs. I'm still not a big egg fan, but he knew he knew that eggs were good for me and they were a good source of protein and they were going to be something that was going to give me energy and be a good brain food to help me along with my day. Grits weren't going to be enough, but I didn't know that. I had grits in the morning. So what he would do was he hid my grits, my eggs under my grits, masked it with sugar and syrup. So in the morning, what I was really eating was eggs, grits, sugar, and syrup. He knew that the eggs was going to be the source of my protein and the substance of my day, but I didn't know that. And so I say that to say I grew up understanding and knowing that grits were to be sweet with sugar and syrup. I had no idea that the reason for that acquired taste was for something else that was hidden, that was for my good. And he used those things to be able to provide me with something that he knew that I needed. And so it was in the grits. Um, and so now, when I'm thinking back to the reasons why things are, or why I've developed, or people have behaved in a certain way, I try to think back to what was in the grits. What was in the grits that you needed, that had to be sugar coated, if you will, or presented to you in a way that you would take it, because if it was presented any other way, you would not. Um, and that's a revelation right there. Sometimes things are presented to us in a way that we would take it because it's for our good. Because if it had not been presented in that way or presented any other way, you would not take it and you would miss out on what's good for you. So it's in the grits. Have a good day.